This video is being made per request of a student, and it's regarding a couple of your homework problems on page 253. So we're going to first look at problem number 35. Okay, now the directions say simplify. So I'm given an algebraic fraction, c plus 2 divided by c squared times 3c all over c squared minus 4. Now this is a multiplication problem, and so the first thing I want to do is I want to factor if possible. Because if I can factor, once I'm done factoring, then I will reduce. Well, c plus 2 cannot be factored. C squared is a monomial, so it cannot be factored. 3c is a monomial, but c squared minus 4, I recognize that to be a difference of two squares. It would be c plus 2 times c minus 2. Now that I've factored this problem, let's go ahead and reduce. So I'm going to look for anything that might be in common here. So I see the binomial c plus 2 and c plus 2 will become 1. Then I also notice the monomial c's are in common. So c and c, so then this will just make a c then, okay? There we go. So now I'm going to write down the product of what's remaining. So in the numerator, I have a 3 remaining. And in the denominator, I have c times a quantity, c minus 2. Now that's left in factored form, which I believe that's how the book expresses it. Another way you could do is you could multiply it out and write it in standard form. 3 over c squared minus 2c. Okay, great. Now let's continue and do one more problem. The problem that was requested was number 37. So on 37, the directions say again to simplify. So I have a squared minus x squared over a squared. So it's a binomial divided by a monomial times a all over 3x minus 3a. So it's a monomial over a binomial. So first thing I try to do is I try to factor. Now when I look at the numerator here, there we go. So when I look at my numerator, I notice it's a difference of two squares. So that means I can factor that to be a plus x times a quantity a minus x. Now when I look at the denominator, I notice this is a monomial, so that will not be factored. So that will be over a squared times. Now in the numerator again, we notice it's a monomial, so it will stay as is. Now in the denominator, we have a binomial. So the first thing I do in factoring is I look for a greatest common factor. And I notice both terms have a 3 in common. So I'm going to write it in factored form. So it's 3 times the quantity, x minus a. Now that I'm done factoring, I'm going to look for common factors. So I notice that in my monomials, I have an a and an a squared. So this will reduce to 1, and this will be 1a left over. Now let's see, look at these binomials. Now when I'm looking at these binomials, I'm noticing that this x minus a, it looks a lot like these two binomials. Now, is it an exact match? No, but could it be opposites? So the opposite would be a negative x and a positive a. Look here, a negative x and a positive a. So that means anything divided by its opposite is negative 1. So this would reduce and become a negative 1. So now let's write out what is left as a product. So in the numerator, I have a negative, and then we have a plus x. And then in the denominator, I have a 3a. So my answer would be the negative of a plus x over 3a. I hope that helps.